We want to, first of all, say it's an honor to be here and be able to do this. To be at one of the biggest, well, I suppose the biggest conference in the nation for catfishing is overwhelming for us to be able to be up here and speak to you guys. We're going to do a couple things. One, they wanted us to talk about fishing as a family. My wife and I, Ann, and my son Spencer, we all fish as a team for the most part. We do a couple things individually, but for the most part, we focus on fishing as a team. We're going to kind of walk you guys through what we've done and how we've acquired and accomplished what we have. After that, we're going to talk about how to actually approach businesses to get sponsorships. We've been doing this for 7 years. We want to see more people develop the skill to get sponsorships, and we're going to teach you what we do to do so.
We've kind of been on both sides of it. We are on pro staffs for several different companies, but we also run our own pro staff, and we've run our own tackle business and our own bait business, and we've seen some of the really bad stuff that comes to us, people applying for pro staff positions with us, and we've also seen the reactions we've gotten from some of the other companies on what we've given to them. And so our perspective is just a little bit from both sides of that, how it looks from a professional standpoint and what the sponsors are expecting from their anglers for a level of professionalism, and what anglers should be providing to their sponsors. A little bit about us. We have been tournament fishing for 7 years. Individually, we fish separate for a little while. We've been fishing together for 4 years now. We do try and include our son Spencer with us for most of our tournaments. What's been nice is there's a lot more tournament trails out there that are allowing that third angler, kind of breaking the mold a little bit. Everything that the catfish industry is doing right now is breaking the mold. We've started out a little bit on the bass and the walleye plans that they've had, but there's a lot of action going on right now to blaze this new path, create these new catfishing expectations. So a lot of the tournament trails are going to allow that third angler, whether it be a youth, military, disabled, there's different, pardon? Senior citizens. They're different tournament trails have different criteria for it. We fish as many of them as we can with our son Spencer. If he's not able to fish with us, Eddie and I fish alone. We didn't start out fishing together. He started out fishing on his own with his own partner. I started fishing on my own with my own partner, and it was difficult for us at the time to find a good fit with a partner. If you have a boat, then your partner doesn't necessarily want to chip in for the boat maintenance, or he's got a habit that you don't really like, or he's messy, you're clean, whatever it is. It's difficult to find a partnership. Well, 90% of our pre-fishing, 90% of our pleasure fishing was done together. We already knew each other's habits. We already knew how to get along together on a boat and what to do, and so it made sense to us at the time to partner up together and try fishing a tournament. The first one we did was terrible, and it's not always pretty. We get into fights, we get intense, both of us. You don't get good sleep the night before, and then you're crabby the next day, or whatever else. But we have a goal in mind of what we want to accomplish together, and being able to work together for that helps us accomplish those goals that we're looking for. Eddie is a Coast Guard captain. He just recently got his captain's license. He's a guide. I work as a graphic designer. Together we've just started Fish Heart Industries. We are creating print work and design work for anybody within the fishing industry. And so we are offering services to individual anglers if they need business cards, help with sponsorships, resumes, that sort of thing, but also to anybody that might have a business. We're doing product tags and banners, a whole bunch of the stuff that was produced for all the booths at the show here. So if you have a business and you're doing trade shows, you need your backdrop banners, whatever else. We're in a unique position for this in that we've been involved in the fishing industry for a really long time, so we're familiar with the logos, we're familiar with the needs of the angler and the product. Yep, we do.
Spencer, he's right here in front. He's hard not to fish with because he's so good and he does such a great job in the boat. And incorporating our child into our fishing was big for us because we travel a lot. And we wanted to make this a family thing. We wanted our kids to be with us. We want him to be there. We want him to fish with us. And he is A little bit about him. He's in 7th grade. He's been tournament fishing for 3 years. The kid has had numerous wins. He purchased his own fishing equipment. We just actually got him into video equipment because, like a kid, he needs something else to do while he's on the boat rather than just focus on fishing. So we ended up getting him a little video equipment. We're hoping that he'll evolve on that and start editing to give him something to do when he gets bored. Giving a kid something to do when they're bored is big in fishing. If you don't have one, when you do have one, or grandkids, you're going to understand. You can never have too many snacks, and they got to have something to do. He has several 1st and 2nd place finishes. Spencer has actually fished without us. He's fished against us in tournaments, and he's done extremely well with a partner. For being 13 years old, just turning 13 years old, his accomplishments are pretty high for what he has done in his age. He's been a top junior angler, and I'm teaching him how to drive the boat. Last year, he actually drove the boat quite a bit. I want him to, by next year, to be able to back the boat up and take it out by himself. I want him to take me fishing instead of me taking him fishing, so I include him. He feels like he can do something. You want to go to the next one, please? Go ahead.
Like Eddie touched on, we travel a lot, we work a lot, and the fishing tournaments together does give us an opportunity to spend time together as a family, whether it's pleasure fishing or tournament fishing. But what really makes us work together good as a team is that we all have a specific job. We all know all of the parts. A lot of the ladies I've talked to today at the Chick Fight booth, we've talked about learning all of the parts and pieces to what it takes to go out and fish. When we first started fishing together, he'd be sitting at the dining room table putting together, a crawler harness, and hey babe, hand me that blade. And I'd look at the table, parts full of who knows what, be like, is this a blade? No. Is this a blade? So I asked him to teach me. I asked him to go through step by step and show me how to tie a knot, what a basic rig is made up of, what the different hooks are called. And then once I had a basis of knowledge, I started adding on to that and learning it. Spencer's at a little bit of an advantage because he's grown up with this. He, at 3 years old, he's sitting at the table with us learning the names of these things and these hooks as well. But we don't separate out Eddie does this and does this and Spencer does that, and nobody can do any of the rest of it. We all learn the different parts of it, but we all take part in each step, if that makes sense. So like, if we're getting ready for
the next day, Ann will make lunch. We'll put the lunch away. I'll hand it to Spencer. Spencer will put it in the boat. Everybody kind of has a position on the boat. If we catch a fish, if Ann's reeling it in, I grab the net, Spencer moves another rod out of the way. Everyone, as soon as something happens, we all have a focus on where we need to be and what we need to do to make it all collaborate. I fished with a lot of guys prior to Ann, and I had guys that were on their phones during tournaments. I had guys that wanted to whine during the tournament. I had guys that wanted to sleep during the tournament. And it got aggravating because I was there to essentially, it's not the money, it's the award. I love having an award. I love winning an award, and I love putting that on my wall. It makes me feel good about what I've done. And to combat that with what we did is we figured a breakdown out for everybody where everybody has a position on the boat and everybody feels necessary. Whether you're catching fish or not, you're part of the team, and your team getting a first place victory is more important than if she's upset because I grabbed her rod during the tournament to reel in that fish.
If he's sitting closer to the rod, I'm sitting back and tying up rigs or getting a line reeled out again. I expect him to grab that pole. It's not my pole, his pole, his pole. That said, we do all take part in that as well. I'm not one of those fishermen that just sits on the front of the boat and looks pretty. We don't take Spencer out with us and have him expected to not carry his weight as well. He pulls up the anchor. He reels in fish. He knows, he's a phenomenal net man. We all take part in all of that stuff together. We've got a little bit of giveaways. One thing we're getting ready to go. We go do a tournament. We love rig wraps, and he's one of our sponsors. Glenn's here somewhere. We've got free ones.
There's a few of you. For those of you that have never heard of rig wrap or you don't have an understanding of rig wrap, I would suggest there's a whole bunch of them here in these booths. Go check them out. They make a big difference on saving time when you're in the boat. Your prep work's done. All you have to do when you break off is pull that leader out and tie it. And we'll have a few more. If you didn't get one and you'd really like one, please come up and we're done. You can go ahead to the next slide, please.
Quick little, there's a little tab on the side. Oh, yep. Little tab on the side, just use the side of your thumb to do that. So these make it really easy. We sit around our coffee table in the living room watching TV, getting ready for a tournament, and we've got all of the hooks and line and swivels and beads and floats and everything sitting there, and we assembly line it. So I sit there and I tie the, cut 15-liter lines, tie all the hooks onto them, pass it off to Eddie. Eddie slides a bead on, slides a float on, ties the swivel on the end of it, passes it to Spencer. Spencer drops the hook in the rig wrap, twists it around, shuts it, and it goes into the rig case. We can get a full rig pack, 30 of these, yeah, with 50 of them. But we can have that done in 20 minutes. And then when we're out on the boat during that tournament, they're separated by hook size or bead size or whatever else. We don't spend that time. We only have to take one tackle box. We were fishing in a very, very small boat with 3 of us. There's not a lot of storage room. You got to have a live well, you got to have everything else with, and so we didn't have room for a whole bunch of tackle. These have been nice because we can pack everything we need, get it all stowed into one little case about that size, and not have to take anything else with us.
So when this process stuff started, like a lot of people I've seen, you catch a big fish, you think you're a good fisherman, you want to advance yourself in fishing, excuse me, and you think that people should notice that. Especially this day in social media, people think that I caught a big fish, look at me, it's time for people to start giving me some stuff. That's not how it works. When this first started, I had companies approach me, mainstream media companies now, I won't say any names. They approached me and asked me to submit a resume. This is before I started fishing with my wife. I submitted my resume to them. I'd follow up a week later, ask if they got it, see if they'd call me back, email, and I heard nothing from them. Not a thing. I was aggravated. I was extremely aggravated. So rather than letting it aggravate me to the point where I was going to quit, I didn't take no as an answer. I didn't take them disregarding my application, my resume, giving it to them, and taking no as an answer. When we started out, we had 3 sponsors. And our picture's not up there. We had 3 sponsors. Each one of those sponsors gave us $50 each our first year. That was huge to us. It might not sound like a lot now, but that started everything that we wanted to. We had 3 companies that were willing to give us something. It wasn't a no. It wasn't a no response. They had faith in what we were doing, and it was the worst year I've ever fished in my life. It literally was. Breaking trolling motors, breaking props. Every time we went to a tournament, something went wrong, something broke. It was a very, very...
Was that the year
I could have had a mental breakdown.
Was that the year we put the pitchfork underneath
we
the prop
did a lot of
to
things.
Protect it from rocks? It doesn't work so well.
When this started too, one of our longtime sponsors, he
kind of laughed at us.
He said, when he gave me the $50 check, he said, I can amuse your pipe dream. And he had a big smile on his face and he laughed. And those were the most determining words I've ever heard in my life. When he told me that, he thought it was a joke. He didn't think we would do anything. After this year, we wouldn't ask for nothing again. He heard all the horror stories that we went through that year, and he thought for sure the second year we were done. That again gave us, that statement, I can amuse your pipe dream, gave me more ambition to move forward and work harder than anything I have ever heard in my life. No was easy. Trying to swallow that was hard. Having somebody tell you more or less with a smile on their face that you're going to fail, what are you going to do? You're going to fail, or you're going to go out and you're going to go hard? Well, I'm not going to fail. As I said, we started out with $50 each. Having people believe in you is huge in confidence. Huge. It doesn't matter what. It doesn't matter if they give you a rig wrap. That could be the start to any of this. It's any of this that you want to move forward with. What happened to our pictures? Our pictures are gone. Please. You can, yeah, if you'd like to. Resume. So, I've heard people say it's like a job resume. You can get a template off the internet. When this started, there was no what you could do. Have you ever Googled fishing resume? Have any of you ever tried to Google that? What'd you find? What else? Well, you don't find any information. And these guys are coming out with videos, and they're saying, don't do this. Lewis, you better not do that. Justin, you better not write them. Hey, you don't ask me for free stuff. That's all you hear them say. All of it's all negative. Or you hear, this is how I do it. This is how I do it. Me, I. That's not what it's about. It's about you guys and how you can do it and how you can make it stand out to where those companies actually pay attention to you, correct? We didn't have anything to follow. We created this based off of what we wanted. That's how we created what we're doing now. It was based off of what our drive was. So we kept driving. We kept moving forward. We started a resume. We started adding to that resume. On that resume, we added things that we felt were significant. Our resume is currently 5 pages long. I heard in a video recently that you should have a real short, sweet resume. Well, let me explain something to you about fishing and a job. In fishing, I worked hard for everything I have on that resume. All 5 of those pages. No one has any idea how hard you work for it unless you've been there and you've done it, or you're looking to do it. I'm going to put down everything that I've done on that resume, and I want them to see it. I'm going to put down all my social media. I'm going to put down all my audio visual. I'm going to put down every magazine article I wrote for. I'm going to put down everything. Every tournament I fished, I put down there. Now, I'm not listing them each individually. For the years past, I had 5 second places, and I had 2 third places, et cetera, for the years prior. I'm going to put what I plan on doing the next year. These are the steps that I think is necessary because we hand our resume to people, and the people we hand them to, not one of them hasn't said, that's very impressive. They haven't went, oh, that's too much information, I don't want to read it. Or that's not enough information. They've said, this is a very impressive resume. Now that's how you stand out. That's how you want to present yourself to them. Show them that you're determined, you have the drive, you want to move forward with this. Can you go forward? Don't worry about the picture. I'd rather just have you go forward if you can. So, with that being said, resume logistics. A good resume is not built overnight. Believe me, my first resume, it sucked. If I showed it to you, you guys would laugh. It was terrible. After my first year, I started writing to magazines, and I said, hey, I'm a writer. I would like to submit some columns. Would you guys be interested? 1 out of 3 would answer me and say, submit it. When I submitted my writing, they accepted it. Now I'm published in a magazine. It doesn't matter if it's the Penny Saver. It doesn't matter if it's a local newspaper article. It doesn't matter. You're putting your foot in the door, and that's one more thing I can add to my resume. So I've written for Montana Fishing and Hunting News. I write for the Catfish Conference. I write for Catfish Now. Who else? I write for Outsider Tackle Box. That started off me writing one story for one magazine. Then I could tell people, hey, I don't just write for Montana Hunting and Fishing News. I write for the newspaper. Hey, I don't just write for the newspaper because now I'm getting approached by people to do things. That's how it all starts with that kind of stuff. Now, you don't have to be a writer to do stuff like that. You can do the audio-visual stuff. Adding a little every year, even if it seems insignificant. Even if you don't think it matters. On our resume, when the last 2 years we fished Possum Kingdom Cat Masters, that tournament kicks my butt. And I keep going back because it's one of the hardest places I've ever had to fish. And until I figure it out, I'm going back until I win it. And then after I win it, I'm going to go back and I'm going to get my butt kicked again. We got 43rd one year, 52nd the second year. Are those great standings? No, they're not. But they go on my resume because I showed up there and I fished hard. There's a lot of people on the couch on Facebook land that are going to go, oh, you suck, you didn't do that good. I showed up. I beat over half the field. What did you do?
So why is it important to keep track of this stuff? Why is it important to do the writing, to do the little 5-minute videos on Facebook? Because that's what your sponsors want to see. From a business standpoint, businesses have pro staffs to increase their business. They don't pick pro staffs on popularity contests, on looks, on anything other than what can this angler bring to my business? What type of exposure can this angler bring to me? And so your job as a sponsored angler, if you choose to do that, is to expose your sponsors to as many other sources as you can. And it's a varied thing. A little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit here. That said,
keep it, and with her saying that, always keep your resume updated. It doesn't matter if you've done one thing or 10 things before you give it to somebody else. Anything that you can add on it is going to be significant at that time when you submit that resume to somebody. So is less more? I don't think so. I think more is better. You're showing them how hard, how determined you are. You're showing them where you've been, where you're going, and what you plan on doing. Can you switch the slide for me? Putting it all together. So like I said, when we started this, we didn't have a template. There was nobody that said, hey man, do this, do that. This is what you need. There was not a person. So we started with what we thought was right. We got positive feedback. Again, we started building on it. She has some samples of our resume. This is our actual resume now. Name and contact information. Grammar, number 1. If you can't spell, you spell check, please. It's a really neat thing. You hit a button, it runs through everything. All of a sudden, you can spell everything. It's pretty neat how that works. Name and contact information. They want to know who you are. They want to know where you live, correct? What's your name, young man in the retired hat? Mike? Where are you from, Mike? You're from Murray. So Mike from Murray, he's going to fill out a resume. He's looking for sponsors. How old are you, Mike from Murray? Yeah. He's 42 years old and he looks good for his age. Mike, do you have social media? You do social media and you're 46? So Mike, being 46, a handsome young man, he probably has 2,500 followers. Mike's going to want to add that onto his resume. Audio visual presence. People kind of get confused by this. This could be being on Catfish Weekly. This could be you doing your own little show on Facebook. This could be YouTube. At the same time, when I was building my resume, I reached out. There was a TV show in Montana called Big Sky Outdoors. It was all about trout, because that's all anyone thinks about in Montana is trout. And I reached out to him and he said, I've never seen a catfish. I've never caught one. I would love to come film for you. I got to be on the show 3 different times, and it's a statewide film show. So the whole state of Montana got to see me fishing for catfish, which is pretty neat. I know in all of your areas there has to be some kind of small TV show or program, even if it's on YouTube, that you can take part of so you can put it in there. If Lewis hooked up with Justin, Justin had a YouTube channel, you add that. Lewis is going to put that he was on Justin's YouTube channel. Nowadays, that goes further than most. YouTube's huge.
One thing too with the print work, every local city, every local state has some type of outdoor magazine, outdoor newspaper. Send them a fishing report. Send them a quick recap of a tournament that you went to.
The way that we actually started all this, the exact way with the newspaper is we sent our fishing pictures to the outdoors section. It's called Your Shots. They started publishing our fishing pictures in the newspaper. Well, then they asked us after that if we could start doing the weekly fishing report through the summer, because they saw that we were serious fishermen. Simple things like that, that's more that you get to add to your resume. You submitted your picture's in the newspaper, you take that, that's now part of your resume. That's one more piece of paper that you can add.
Little tip of advice, if you've written your story, you're ready to submit it to somebody, you have no idea where to send it to, usually inside page of the front newspaper will have contact information about who their editor at large is. especially for the outdoor section. And every magazine that's printed, you open it up, inside of the first page will have editor information and contact information in there. Start cold calling, send it out, make 300 copies. One trick that we do to get our information in front of people, we mail hard copies. We don't email stuff anymore. Used to be that you had 500 pieces of mail and 3 emails. Now you've got 300 emails and 5 pieces of mail. If you are sending an actual physical resume in the mail to a sponsor, they're going to open it up and they're going to take a look at it. So and it's
with the mail, we don't just send our resume. We get manila envelopes and we take every magazine article we've ever written. We take every newspaper article we've ever been in. We take every possible thing we can. We photocopy it and we add it in there. So now you don't have a packet with a piece of paper in it, you have a packet with 60 pieces of paper in it. Now you tell me, how many people get mail nowadays?
Besides bills. Anything
I
that's
got
not
one
a
back
bill.
there. How many people get emails and don't open them? I get like 17 a day. Now I'm going to tell you, from a matter of importance, if I send mail to Mike, Mike's probably going to open that mail just out of sheer curiosity of what's in it. Correct? That's how you're going to put yourself in front of those sponsors and stand out more than everybody else that writes and says, hey, can I have a pro staff position? You have to stand out. You have to put yourself in front of them, and this is going to be one of the best ways to do it.
Your job as a prospective pro staffer trying to recruit these businesses to staff you, your job is to let them know what you can do for them. You need to sell yourself and your ability to represent their company.
This is a job. It's absolutely a job. And it also depends on what they're giving you. We have sponsors that give us product, we have sponsors that pay us, and we have sponsors that do both. They give us products and they pay us. Now, with that being said, you need to accept an offer that fits your goal. Never feel bad if you have to say no. If you have to turn somebody down because you don't think it fits what you have or what you're doing or what you want to go with, don't do it. If 10% is okay for you, take it. If it's not, don't. Me personally, with what we do and how hard we work and where we go, I won't fish for a discount. I'm not saying that to be arrogant. I'm not saying that Lewis has to pay me to be on his team, but we're going to negotiate until I'm happy with what I get. Until I'm happy, I'm not saying yes. There's too many guys out there and gals right now, someone will come at them and say they got a position, and they can say yes before they even know what they got themselves into. I've talked to people like that. Well, now I got to get out of it. It's okay to say no. Don't ever feel obligated that you have to be sponsored by any of these companies for any specific reason.
That said, you should be familiar with the company as well. Do your research ahead of time. We fish for companies within the catfish industry. We fish for the companies that we know and the products that we believe in, that products that we have personally used, not just because we're known and somebody said, hey, can you be on our pro staff? We want your exposure. No, these are companies we actually know. And we've turned down several different large companies who have wanted to use us for exposure, but we don't like their product. We had
a company call us. We have no knowledge of their product. This was a winter ago.
Yeah.
And they said, hey, we're interested in having you on our pro staff. And I said, okay, well, what would you, and they called us, mind you. I never sent them a resume. They were watching our social media, et cetera, et cetera. They approached us, they called me. I said, well, what are you willing to offer? They said 50% off. I said, all right. And he said, and you got to drop your tackle company, your bait company, your rod company. Essentially, they wanted us to drop all of our sponsors that had anything to do with the fishing industry because they had it all and they were going to provide it all for us. And I told the guy, I said, I said, please don't take this personally, but I said, until you're going to pay me, don't call me back. That was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do because it was one of the biggest companies that's out there right now. One of the biggest companies that has everything. You don't have to go and have 16 different sponsors for it. I'm a very loyal man to my sponsors. They take very good care of me. I've never touched one of these rods or used one of these hooks that this company approached us with. Now for me to go, hey, you know what, let's go, that's not going to tell you guys much about integrity in fishing and what you should and shouldn't do. If you're not familiar with the product and someone offers you a spot, start it out where you say, I would like you to send me something to try first. So I do know what I'm getting myself into.
Or let me purchase something to try first. A lot of beginning anglers approach a lot of companies, and this is coming from the business side of it, and say, oh, hey, I really like your stuff. I want to check it out. Can you send me some free stuff? That's not the right way to go about getting a sponsored position either. Every company that's out there is getting hit up 5 or 6 times a day. So you think 5 or 6 times a day over the course of 2 or 3 years, they get sick of seeing that. You have to approach them with a professionalism and doing your research ahead of time, being aware of what their company is, what they stand for, who they are and who you are, to make sure that it's a right fit. Don't just approach a company and say, oh, hey, this is really cool. Can I have something for free?
Well, and if you're if you can't find a way to contact a company, there's some companies you can't find addresses for, you can't find phone numbers for. It's okay to send them an email, but be very professional and short about it. Hi, my name is so-and-so. I would like to seek a position on your pro staff. How do I go about submitting my information to you? As professionally and as short as you can, so they know that you're interested and you have something to give them. The other day, I wish I had the picture. I got an email from a guy. We started our company does resumes and pamphlets and sponsor brochures, banners, etc. One of the biggest things we've done so far is resumes for other people. And the guy says, well, I'd like a pro staff. He wrote me on Facebook, I'd like a pro staff position. And I said, well, send me your resume, let me review it, and I'll get back to you. I get an email 2 days later, and it was misspelled. It was about 5 sentences long, and it was nothing that I asked for. I got his first and his last name. I got some stuff I didn't even understand. Like, new kids, you know how they do the OMGs and the OHNs and stuff? There was some of that in there. Now, you can't approach a resume company with 5 sentences that are spelled wrong and no resume. That's probably the biggest thing I can tell you to don't do. That's my one don't. Outside that, you have to create this yourself. We offer an opportunity for you to be able to step forward and stand out, but it's something you can also do on your own. Otherwise, we wouldn't have given you exactly what we do. That's our resume. That's not something we made up for this show. That is what we hand to everybody that we're interested in potentially being sponsored by. You guys now have a template in your hand. If you're interested in trying to move forward, you can also talk to us more about it, and we can move forward with you. We'll go into the last words. We try to keep our seminars fairly short. That way, if you guys have questions afterwards, please feel free to talk to us. We would love to discuss anything that you would want to talk about. Work with companies over time. Lewis, how long have you been fishing Warrior rods? A couple years? Yes. So you've put in work with Warrior cat rods, and you haven't requested anything from them. So at some point when you feel that you can approach them, you already have the individualism of you've used the product, you're familiar with the product, they know you personally, they see you at tournaments, you're going to be a step ahead of everybody else. You'll be a step ahead of Mike, because Mike over here, he likes rip and lip rods. You see what I'm saying? But
it's a little bit like negotiating a raise at your job. You want to approach Warrior and say, over the course of the last 3 years, I have done this seminar, I've done this presentation, I've appeared at these shows,
man, she reminded
I've done all
me.
of that, and again...
I apologize. She reminded me of something. For those of you that are serious about this, which I'm sure you are if you're sitting here, we went into Cabela's and we said, we want to do seminars for free. And they said, well, yeah. I got to put that on my resume now. Now Cabela's calls me and says, hey, can you come this weekend and do a seminar for us? Absolutely. We put ourselves out there and offered, and they took us up on that offer. And now we could do 3, 4, 5 a year if we'd like to. We could go do private seminars in there. So it's going to be a matter of you coming out of your shell and understanding what it takes to be in the industry.
Making your opportunities to add to your resume. Finding the niche. If social media or video isn't what you like doing, if you like doing one-on-one, have a fishing clinic. You know, put some posters up around town. We did that at our bait shop a couple times, just said, you know, hey, we're gonna do a clinic on bass fishing. We had 3 guys show up, wasn't a big deal. We sat around, BS, talked about bass fishing, showed a couple rigs, did a couple stuff. The guys loved it. We, you know, took them out, had a good time fishing, but it was us providing ourselves with an opportunity. We were then able to use that to, you know, we've held this. You don't want to exaggerate what you've done on your resume. You want to keep everything on there in 100% honest. In this day and age, it's easy enough for somebody to go online and verify any information. And there are anglers out there who exaggerate what they've done, you know, as far as catches, you know, the size of the fish that they've caught and tournaments they've been entered in. Anybody can go on and verify that information, and a lot of people are going on and verifying that information. So if you're putting it in print, if you're putting it in front of somebody, make sure that it's honest. So you don't exaggerate what you're doing, but if I say that I put on a bass fishing clinic at the local bait store, you have a preconceived notion of that. Do I need to tell you that I only had 3 people there? Not necessarily. I need to tell you that I put on a bass clinic.
The matter of people is not important. It's a matter of being there and doing it. You know, another thing, we build our flyers. Even if the Cabela's doesn't make a flyer for us for our event, we will, and we will put it on social media. That flyer is now a part of your resume. That flyer is now a part of something you can stick into an envelope and send off. It's not about what, ask Louis, he's worked hard too. Sponsors just don't come up to you and say, hey man, come on, I heard you're a good fisherman, jump on board. Either you go get it, or you're probably not gonna get much. And we just gave you guys a lot of different ways that you can potentially go get it. Easy ways. Talk to Cabela's or Sportsman's or Academy about doing a seminar. Send your pictures into the newspaper. Simple, effective ways to be able to stand out. In Fisherman, I don't know if you guys read that anymore, but in the back of it, or inside it, it has a trophy class fish for like catch and release, where you can get a badge and a little certificate from them. I did that a few times to be able to put that in there. It's easy. I caught a channel catfish that was 20 pounds. It exceeded what they said in that standard. I just had to mail it in with a picture and a witness. Now I get to add that to my resume. So you can take all the easy things, and then you can take the complicated things, or you can do both of them, and we do all of them. Generally, does anyone have any questions while we're up here? Please.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You want to take this and you can give it to the next person so we can all hear you. If anyone else has a question, we'll hand them that mic. You can turn it on right there on that button. But step back there so we don't get the speaker feedback, please. Yeah. Hit the button. What's your name, sir?
Rick.
Rick,
Whoa.
all right.
So how do you deal with the negative? I had to delete this thing because there was so much negative about it.
When somebody, well, and with her being a woman, and I'm sure a lot of women, there's not many in here at this point, but men will say derogatory things to her. I don't take it personally, neither does she. When people say negative things about me or to me, or I see negative things on the internet, I block them. I go block them. I don't have time for it.
But that doesn't remove what's up there already, does it?
Well, does that matter? Is that affecting your day-to-day life? I mean, maybe it makes you look stupid in front of a couple people, but guess what? Those people are talking about you. So is it really making you look dumb, or is it the fact that now everyone's talking about Mark? Good or bad or ugly, Mark's kind of a big deal at the moment. Mark forgot to put his plug in the boat, right? Whatever it is. But you got to understand, it's the old saying about even bad media is good media. A perfect example I can give you is look at Donald Trump. If there's somebody that you could not want to be and get all the attention, who would it be? It would be the president.
He handles it well.
Exactly. So
he generally lets it slide off his back. He doesn't take it personally. He'll address it if it needs to be addressed, but most of the time he just ignores it in regards to his bad publicity.
So you guys get that, but when these guys go look at that, do they ever say, well, what's with this video?
Our sponsors?
Yeah.
Do our sponsors look at that? Our sponsors, we've been working with our sponsors, and we're so close to our sponsors that they don't look at that and think, oh, what's wrong with you? They look at that and they go, what's wrong with them?
Right, okay.
Why are they trying to create problems for you? Well, our sponsors don't even do that. I'll approach them about it, we'll laugh, brush it off. You got to expect, the further you advance, whether you advance or not, it doesn't matter how far you advance, people are going to be upset with you. You're going to get people that don't like what you're doing because typically it's going to be jealousy. And you just got to brush that off and just keep moving forward. We're from Montana. People don't even know there's catfish in Montana most of the time. We have people in Montana that fish for catfish that don't like us because we are doing things like this. That's why they don't like us. You know, it is what it is.
Can't catch fish from the couch at home, and everybody here is out there doing it. We're putting in the time on the water, we're putting in the time in the boat, and we're making that effort. Anybody that's going to sit at home and make comments on Facebook and be a keyboard warrior like that, to me isn't worth my time or my energy. And so, like I said, with the president, I try and brush it off. It sucks. It's hard.
Oh yeah, there's people where I want to go on there and I want to say all kinds of bad words.
Right.
You know,
well, do you also contact non-fishing companies?
Yes.
And you don't have a picture of your boat? Do you have all these sponsors on your boat?
For the most part, yes.
We're buying a new boat here shortly, and so my truck is actually inside a shop right now as we speak, getting wrapped.
Okay.
My whole truck will be wrapped. My whole boat will be wrapped.
And do you have to buy those shirts and make those up?
Yes, we do. So we approach a company. We ask them for sponsorship. I don't have one of my sponsor brochures. So we operate a pro staff, and
put your face down.
What?
Go down. See what's wrong with
Is it not working?
I don't see fish hard on there.
This is last year's jersey,
yeah,
actually.
We just started the fish hard.
We promise our sponsors that we go from one year to the next. We always order our jerseys in February and we get them in March.
Okay.
So we wear this jersey until the next jersey comes in.
Ordered already.
And you asked about non-fishing sponsors. We've got Jimmy John's, we've got tattoo shops, we've got 2 drywall companies. We've got several different businesses within our community. They provide us money as part of their advertising budget. We include their logo on our jerseys and on if they're sponsoring our tournament series, they'll go on all of the posters, all of the social media postings. And then we do a big backdrop at the tournaments where people take pictures with their fish. We run 4 tournaments in Montana, one in Wyoming, one in Idaho, and California. Yeah. So we're operating tournaments in several different states. And
well, with sponsors
getting sponsors from different states. So those sponsors provide us with money. They're getting their advertising on the jerseys and exposure at the events, and then that money goes towards our pro staff. We pay for their entry fees and we pay for their jerseys for the year. In exchange, we expect them to work for us. We've asked people to pro staff for us before. We tell them what's expected of it, and they turn us down and they say, well, that sounds like work. It is. Being a pro staffer is a job. You are expected to work for what it is that you're getting. Our pro staffers help us with our tournaments. Each of the groups, we've got several different couples or teams in the pro staff. They take over one tournament. We expect them to show up early, help set up the canopy, do the scoreboard, do the weigh-ins, tear down, stay late, help with security, help with anybody that's broke down somewhere. We expect them to do that. What's nice is with 4 teams and 4 tournaments in Montana, each team takes over one tournament, so everybody gets an equal opportunity to fish. If you're the person operating that tournament, you're the last one to go out, you're the first one to come in. We typically, when we were doing them by ourselves, we typically lost 1.5 hours to 2 hours of fishing time.
With non-industry sponsors, like she's talking about with restaurants, we've had drywall companies, plumbing companies. Let me explain something to you. You eat, you might need some drywall done at your house, right? You don't have drywall? All right, Justin does. Everyone needs a plumber. We take that and we use that in our local area. When my award guy, when he needed a plumber to plumb his new bathroom he put in, guess who I told him to call? Guess who got that business? When the guy that needed drywall, a friend of mine needed drywall, guess who I told him to call? I told him to call the drywall business. So we're returning that business too. It doesn't have to be industry sponsors. It just has to be people that want to sponsor you, that believe in what you're doing. You know, industry sponsors is definitely a bonus.
We have a tire company, and we started with them after about the fourth set of truck tires and third set of trailer tires. We all spend money on tires. It doesn't hurt to ask those companies that you're already spending money with if they would be interested in sponsoring you. But again, back to the professionalism with the pro staff, you have to approach them, let them know what you can do for them. You're asking them for money, they want to know why. What advantage will they have by giving you some money for it?
You guys have to excuse me, my feet hurt so bad from this concrete. If you see me dancing around, that's why. Stand up, you're like,
anybody else have any other questions on
my feet are
anything?
killing me.
Did we answer yours about the non-industry sponsors?
Well, see, we got lucky. We picked up Dale's homemade bait and tackle this year. Dale right there. He has a booth here. Great guy. It's all about, I don't know what we did right, but I mean the same thing. If you have a question, he's one of our sponsors. Ask him. Ask him what he looks for. You know, that's the other thing that you can do is you could reach out to some of these guys and say, what do you want from me, or how do I go about approaching you, or what? Work it out. You know, it's not really it's not as difficult as people think. It's a matter of being a professional when you do it.
Preparing ahead of time. There are a lot of companies that do have specific pro staff requirements, especially some of the bigger rod companies, some of the bigger reel companies. You go onto their website, they will have instructions on how to apply for a pro staff position.
You can only apply in October.
Yeah,
and you can only apply at this time, and there's a lot of
timelines, expectations. They want a resume, pictures of boats. You know, they want to see the whole package.
Well, now
So
when Cabela's took over,
if you want to apply with them, do it step by step. Give them all of the requirements they're asking for, because they're getting a whole bunch of incomplete ones that they're tossing out. They don't look at. If you don't have all of those steps, if you don't submit it in the right amount of time, you may as well not be submitting it.
So you submit something. How long do you wait for a response before you follow up or submit again?
if it was if I mail it out, you're going to generally know how long it's going to take to get there. You know, so if you mail something from New Jersey to Oklahoma, probably take about a week to get there. So give them 2 or 3 weeks. If you don't hear back from them, follow up with them. I follow up twice, possibly a third time. If they don't contact me by the third time, I will never fish their product again. Tell me no. I'm okay. When I approached Dale and talked, when Dale and I came to an agreement on what we did with the pro staff, if Dale would have told me no, I still would buy sinkers from Dale, because Dale had at least the courtesy to respond to my request. Now, if Mike over here, his lead, he thinks better than Dale's. Mike won't respond to me. I'm not going to buy nothing from Mike now. And it's not because I don't like Mike. It's because they should have the common courtesy to say, we're not seeking professional staff right now. They should say, we're not seeking, no, just no. We're not seeking anything. Or we're seeking somebody, but you don't have the proper qualifications. Whatever excuse they give you, a response is going to go a lot further than acting like they never got anything from you.
We do.
Respond with no. Do you wait another year?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yeah. The next year, I'll submit another application. Absolutely. We've had a company tell us that we submitted to that he didn't see how he could help us further ourselves, so he didn't feel comfortable sponsoring us. Cool. Enough said. Sounds good to me. Thank you for your time. I always end it with thank you for your time. If they don't respond to me, I usually leave the same kind of message. It's the third time I've tried to follow up with you. I've had no response. Thank you for your time. I'll be moving on. Does it matter if I don't buy sinkers from Mike? Maybe not to Mike, but to me it does. Now, I'm not going to go tell, what's your name? I'm not going to go, Mike, don't go to Mike, or Diane, don't go to Mike because he's mean, or he didn't tell. You can do whatever you want.
And that's one thing to remember too. If you gain sponsors or lose sponsors, keep it professional. There isn't any reason to bad talk anybody else in this industry. There isn't. It does not benefit you as an angler to talk badly about a company, because any company you approach then next is going to be a little bit worried that if you leave, you're going to talk bad about them too. It's best to keep everything neutral. It's best to keep on good terms. If you do happen to leave a company on bad terms, say you and the owner get in a great big huge screaming fight, you disagree about, whatever it is that you disagree about, it doesn't need to be broadcast on Facebook. It doesn't need to be texted to all of your friends and messages posted. You don't need to talk smack about them at every chance you get. Let it lie. Just let it be, let it die down.
One thing
it can be as simple as, I haven't used that product, or I no longer use that product. Leave it at that and let other people form their own opinions.
One thing I've been pretty proud of our sponsors with is I have a tendency to speak my mind. I have no problem speaking my mind. I've been in all-out fights with my sponsors, like my wife. We've argued. We've screamed at each other. And when it's all done, they're still my sponsor because I respect what they have to say and they respect what I have to say. Because we got into a pissing match over whatever it was, I'm not dropping them, they're not dropping me. We got out what we needed to get out. Next time we see each other, we give each other a hug and we keep moving. That's having a good sponsor compared to having a sponsor where if you say, man, I don't want to say any specific product, because I don't want you to think that it has anything to do with anyone we fish with. This specific product has this wrong with it. How can we fix it? I've talked to my sponsors about that stuff. And they say, we've been working on it. We've heard about it. This is what we're trying. Cool. At least you know that they're trying to make a better product, not keep it the same. It's okay to be wide open like that. But if you're wide open like that and they come back at you and they're mad and they don't want you on their pro staff, you're better off leaving. It's better off for you not to be there, because all you're doing is trying to, when you have sponsors, I'll end it on this. I think we have another seminar coming up. I'll end it on this. When you have sponsors, you are responsible for the products that you sell. If I sell Justin something and it's junk and Justin don't like it, Justin's not going to trust anything else I tell him about anything else that I'm sponsored by ever again. We don't want that. We want Justin to go, man, that was awesome. I want to try some of this now. That's what our goal is,
There isn't any one best rod, best reel, best technique, best bait. It's what works the best for you, what you're the most comfortable with. One thing that's really, really great for us right now today is the variety of products that we have available. 15 years ago, there was 2 saltwater rods that we could use.
As early as 5 years ago, really,
Two saltwater reels that we could use and a handful of hooks. And now we have hundreds of companies and hundreds of opportunities to learn what type of equipment, what type of rigs and hooks and everything else that work best for you. The most successful fisherman is the one that has confidence in himself. It doesn't matter what size fish you're catching. It surprises us still that people know us. We're from Montana. We're channel cat fishermen. We're not doing anything spectacular or anything great at all. We're trying to contribute to the industry. We're trying to represent the companies that we represent as best as possible. But are we catching 100-pound fish? Are we breaking records? Are we winning every tournament we enter? Absolutely not. We're average fishermen. We're a family. We fish together. We fight. We win sometimes. We lose sometimes. We lose boats.
That essentially says everything we need to say. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to pull us aside. And I hope that you guys understood what from the beginning to where we are now of what we were trying to say. Make your own template, make your own path, create it. If you need help, ask us. We will help you. There's no reason for you, if you want to accomplish getting sponsors and being a sponsored angler and wearing a jersey and going to tournaments, it's up to you. It's not up to anybody else. So I really hope you guys that listen that want to further it, again, ask us. I really hope you guys invest, and thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.